This is Prime Sports Network. You're watching Prime Sports NASCAR as we preview this week's race, Kansas Speedway. And it's another one of those funny sponsors, Eric.
Yeah. I don't even like batteries, some powered something. I just
Super Start batteries.
There it is. Yeah. Definitely an odd one for glad they're paying money to be a title sponsor, but maybe have to learn more about them because that is a definitely weird sponsor.
Well, I noticed there's an O'Reilly's Auto Parts logo there too.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a nice little relationship from O'Reilly's. So they're kicking back one of their vendors, I guess, or one of their clients.
Yeah.
And
last week was the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500. So maybe it's maybe there's a connection there.
That's right. I would think so. All right. Let's get started by wrapping up a very weird way to end the race. Not just a weird way to end the race at Kentucky, Eric, but if we were doing this show, I don't know, 5 minutes or right after, there might be a lot of expletives on this broadcast, considering we both had money on Ryan Blaney, and the only reason that Ryan Blaney lost the race was because of a caution. And it was a bad caution, too. It was one of those cautions that are just plain and simply, they're avoidable.
Yeah, I'm not real sure what Quinn Houff was doing. He decided to hit pit road from the middle of turn 4, which everybody else is on the apron. And nevertheless, he tried to pit on lap 306 and caused the crash right in the middle of the pit sequence, which really screwed Blaney and a lot of the other guys up front that were running up front that deserved to be up front. He really screwed him because he brought out the caution. They had to make time up, but at a track that's tough to pass on, and you were not having the clean air, they never regained their position. So it helped Richard Childress
22 laps, and they couldn't regain position.
Yeah, that shows you everything wrong about NASCAR, that the fast cars can't find their way to the front. They deserve to be there. Blaney swept both stages, led 150 laps, and he gets screwed by a caution. You would think, I want to see the fast cars be able to pass and get to the front. And the fact that we have another race to where they can't do that, they're stuck with dirty air, and that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes not just for Quinn Houff, which is a problem in itself, for which Brad Keselowski made a comment into a transcript about how drivers should be kind of tiered. They should be rewarded to be a Cup driver and demoted when they make mistakes like that. That's a problem in itself.
Yes.
I agree with Keselowski, I should say. It's a problem for drivers like Houff, but also a problem that you've got a car that is fast and can't pass to get back up there. It's just,
it doesn't even make any sense why these drivers are in this position. It's just, this whole thing about, I'm assuming it's experience, and I mean, because look, they're not getting any recognition from sponsorship. So I'm not getting it. And that's why I know we've talked about this for years on this show about what they have to try and do more of, which is, I mean, it was a start to go from 43 to, what are we at now, the number?
40 is the max.
40.
A lot of races you're seeing 38.
Okay, so at least we've got it down to 3 to 5, but it should be really close to 30. There shouldn't be any more than 30 cars out there, because cars 31 to 40 or whatever the number is, they're just driving around in circles, and if anything, they're causing problems.
Yeah, I mean, he was 7 laps down. Like, what are you doing? Why did you think last minute to pit? Like, if you don't have the brain power to know that I'm in turn 4, I probably don't need to pit from here. I mean, slow down and get your bearings and pit the next lap, because you're multiple laps down. It's not going to affect you. So NASCAR wasn't happy about it. They mentioned on Monday that they're going to sit him down before a Thursday night's race and talk to him and see where his head's at and make sure
he knows. They should sit down with themselves. That's what NASCAR should do.
Yeah, I would be. I mean, I don't want to exclude some of these teams, and I don't want it to be just big teams only. But there's got to be a happy medium to where we don't have these field
but they can't compete. So if they can't compete, then it's a waste of time for them to be out there. And like with Austin Dillon winning, look, it's better that I mean, in my mind, it is better that Austin Dillon wins than say Kevin Harvick or let me just pick out a driver in that race that really didn't do anything that is a top driver, Brett Keselowski.
Mm-hmm.
So if Brett Keselowski would have won that, that would have been really bad because well, if somebody's going to luck themselves into a win, it is better it's someone like Austin Dillon. It is better that it's someone like Cole Custer, that kind of stuff. That's better to see those guys, especially Dillon with more of a lucky win than a Keselowski. But we want to see Austin Dillon win because he has a good car. We want to see the parity. We like it, but we don't want him to win because of luck.
Yeah, the only thing I was good with Austin Dillon winning is because it shook up the playoff standings.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Plus you get a Denny Hamlin now this week. That's what 5-6 to 1, something like that. I can't remember the exact his odds, but it's like if Denny Hamlin would have benefited and somehow won, he'd probably be 3-4 to 1 again this week. So, yeah, I think it helps the odds some because they just look at finishes, some of these odds makers. But two, it shakes this playoff standings, which we talked about a month ago, badly needed shaken up. I mean, you were going to get status quo, your big teams in, nothing really going to happen other than just kind of coasting to the regular season finale at Daytona where anybody could win. Now we're shaping up there. You've got two big name teams that are not going to make the playoffs, no matter how you spin it, because you got a Joe Gibbs Racing and a Hendrick car right now sitting on the outside looking in. And if they are to get themselves in, they're going to be bumping somebody else out. So we've got that going for us. We've got a Daytona road course race now next month that they're oh, by the way, they're not practicing on. These guys have never raced that. They're not practicing qualifying. It's like, hey, here's a new track, go out and race. So you've got to have a fluke, maybe winner there. We know the Daytona Super Speedway aspect of that track is going to possibly produce a fluke winner. So our playoff standings are really going to get shaken up here if they haven't already. So that.
How many more races before the playoffs?
1, 2. I got it right here. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 of them.
And
two of them are at Daytona.
2 races Daytona. Okay, so it's like one. So I'm surprised that they didn't decide, especially the way they've been doing it this year. They didn't decide to do them in the same week.
Well, Daytona is making up for Watkins Glen since they can't go to Watkins Glen, and Dover was already set. So they just kind of left Dover alone and just kind of filled it in since it's kind of close down there. But yeah, I would have thought, to me, would have made more sense. Run the road course on Saturday, or Friday if you wanted to, or whichever day you want to do it, and run the regular season finale at the Super Speedway. If you had to run that Sunday night, run it Sunday night. I know it's Saturday night, but combine the weekends. But yeah, I would say since they're 2 of the final 4 races, because Dover's a doubleheader, you're going to see a lot of wadded up checkbooks by the end of August because you're going to have a lot of wrecks at those 2 races.
And look, if right now something were to happen with Jimmy Johnson, or let's see, if we're taking a look at the border there, Johnson or William Byron or Jones, well, look, they haven't really done anything anyway, and they're not going to do anything in the playoffs anyhow. Nor will Custer, and nor will Dillon. Another thing that kind of, I don't know. I mean, I get why you're happy, why you win. But remember we were talking about Ryan Blaney after he won and he comes out of the race and it's like, dude, show some emotion. And here's a guy that is having a tremendous year and has only won once. And that was his win. But then you got Austin Dillon coming out and he's got this, this smile on his face like if he had just dominated the race or something and he had a great car. I don't understand drivers. It's because I haven't been in it. I don't know their mentality from when they've been in these middle midget cars when they were 5 years old. I don't understand what it feels like to win races because rain came out and you lucked into it and that somehow is a good thing. Like, oh, let's celebrate. Or this happened. Oh, well, we had no right winning, but we won anyway. Yay, we won. It's like I don't know. It's just a weird feeling. It's because no other sport does it that way. I guess it's just bred in them that, hey, a win's a win, and we're gonna celebrate.
And that's how kind of Austin Dillon said. He mentioned that there's no asterisk next to a win. A win is a win, so we'll take it. But I just don't know. I mean, yes, I would be happy that I won, but it would feel weird winning that way. I think because again, none of us have ever been in that situation, so I think we're all in the same boat. Like, you've kind of lucked into winning. I'll give him this. He held off Joey Logano and Kyle Busch and those Kevin Harvick on some restarts. Granted, he had clean air and a lot of that played in the factor, but he did have 3 late race restarts to hold him off. So
Custer's win was better.
Yes, Custer was legitimate passing people.
Yeah.
He got lucky from a same kind of situation in Kentucky.
Sure.
A lucky caution kept him up there, but yeah, he at least passed cars to get there.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon just inherited a lead, and never gave it back.
Yeah, because again, we're at a racetrack where as long as you're first on the restart, and it's not like Kentucky, at least Texas, there's a 10 or 15% chance you might be able to pass who's leading from the inside. Whereas Kentucky, if you're on the outside and you've got the lead on the restart, you are not going to give it up. Yeah. But still, it's just bad. It's something that we hope when the new car comes out will change some of the racetracks, because there's still a long ways to go for NASCAR to figure out how to make these races more exciting. And now we go to another 1.5 mile track, Kansas. So tell me, what's I mean, you got Vegas and you have Kentucky. Those are the similar tracks to Kansas. I don't know. Kentucky wasn't very exciting, so are we in for another snoozer on Thursday night?
Probably, because it's going to be a night race, or at least I'm not sure what time the sun sets in Kansas, but I gotta believe that it's going to start under daytime conditions and end at night. So the track's going to get more grip. It's going to be harder to pass as the race goes on. So I do feel if we see a late caution, we're going to see that old strategy game again. So I think we can have another potential for a fluke winner because of that, as long as you stay on the lead lap in the end, because passing is going to be difficult. The guy starting up front, again, that draw will be tomorrow during the day. We'll find out who's starting where, but it's going to be important for those guys to get in the top 10 draw, because for the last 6 winners in Kansas have started from the top 4. So we've seen how that happens this year. The top guys are going to be starting up front anyways. It is going to be tough to pass those guys.
Okay, let's go ahead and run through the standings as we go through this race. Harvick continues to be red hot, 5 straight top 5s. He's 4-1. He's the favorite to win this race. His win in 2018 was his only top 5, though, on this track in his last 6. So that would be a little bit of a concern for me. It is not a concern for you or Eric. Excuse me, you or CJ. I am not taking Kevin Harvick this week, but you and CJ will put 30 each, which is the most that you're going to put on a driver this week on Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, he's just 5 straight top 5 finishes on the year, 6 straight top 10s. He just looks good right now. He does have that win. You also got to look at spring. Granted, it's summer, but the spring race stats for that race: second, third, first, 13th last year. But he led 104 laps in his 13th place finish. I think strategy took him to the back out on a late race caution or something. But he's typically good there under the lights. So that's why I went with him. He's fast right now. He's fast there under the lights. So why not roll the hot hand and see if we can make some money back on him?
All right. Next up, we have Ryan Blaney, second in the standings, even though he only has 1 win on the season, if you can believe it. He's been the one driver more than any other driver that has had more bad luck as far as wins. Now, he's had one circumstance when the decision by the crew, and again, I'm assuming it's the decision by the crew chief to, all right, come on in, or stay out, right? That was the stay out one.
He pit.
And everybody else stayed out. Yeah.
And that was in Vegas.
Yeah, so that was, but again, if there's no caution late, he doesn't have to make that decision. Again, another situation where something forced the decision. So late cautions and these types of decisions or just bad luck have killed Ryan Blaney for 3 additional wins so far this season. Which is why all 3 of us have Ryan Blaney again. And a matter of fact, just like last week, Ryan Blaney is the only driver that all 3 of us have agreed on this week. You guys have him as basically your second choice, 20 each on Blaney. I have him as one of my top picks I put 30 on Ryan Blaney out of my 100.
Yeah, and the reason I didn't have him as my top because I went towards towards Harvick, or I would have went all in on him. I think he's got to be the favorite. I know the odds don't say it, but you look at, like we talked about, Vegas. He was running the top two and he had to pit because of that caution. Kentucky, similar track a couple weeks
Oh,
ago.
so Vegas was was the one where he had the issue with that. Okay.
Yep, that was Vegas, and he was leading, dominated that race. Kentucky had a great car. His shifter broke. He drove with his left hand, held his shifter with his right hand. He finished sixth, I believe. Yeah, sixth place. But he had a top two car. We saw how easy it was for him to pass there when most others couldn't. So I think he's got the top car right now still. Texas, he had a top car, just, again, late race caution. So if he doesn't get a late race caution, he's going to be right there battling for the win. So he's a great pick for 5-1 right now.
6-1 actually.
Or 6-1.
Yeah.
6-1.
Even better.
I think he should be the favorite.
Well, I mean, Harvick kind of deserves to be the favorite just because of how good he is. But I see what you're saying. Based on just the last few weeks alone, Blaney's been the best driver.
Yeah, if you put him head to head, pure speed, say you two, only two cars on the track, here's 10 laps. Blaney, in my mind, I think beats Kevin Harvick right now. So that's bodes well going to the playoffs. He's got the speed, and like he said, he's frustrated. He said it in his quotes after the race at Texas. He's very frustrated with how these finishes are going, but he also sees the silver lining. He's got fast race cars, and like you said, as long as you show up week in, week out with these race cars, things are going to take care of itself. Yes. So it's better to have the bad luck now than in the playoffs, because if he doesn't have that bad luck in the playoffs,
he'll dominate.
And for what you can get him for like a championship right now, take him. Yep. I think he could dominate.
Yep. And and look, don't worry about Ryan Blaney's past history at this track because he hasn't really shown a whole lot. He's been okay. Even last year he was bad result-wise. It just doesn't matter because this is a different Ryan Blaney, a different team in general, that you just don't really worry about what happened in the past, especially with no practice and no qualifying. It's been an advantage for someone like Ryan Blaney. Third and fourth, you have his teammates, Keselowski and Logano. So the three Penske drivers, second, third, and fourth in the standings. Keselowski's 9-1. Logano is 10-1. Nobody took Keselowski this week. CJ put 15 on Logano at 10-1. Both drivers, because of their odds, I think you have to take into consideration. Logano did win in Las Vegas. Keselowski 13th or better in all but 2 races in the entire year. He's the defending champ of the race. Logano only has 1 top 5, though, in his last 6 races here, but he has won twice. His third place finish last week was his first top 5 in his last 7 races.
Yeah, Logano, I want to see him. Like you said, he said in his quotes, he's starting to stack some momentum. The speed's starting to come around. I just want to see another week of it before I go in on him. Kansas has been good for him, and it's also been bad. He's got 4 of his last 6 finishes. Yeah, 4 of his last 6, he's been 17th or 15th or worse at Kansas too. So let's see what he can do, because Keselowski we know is going to be a top 10 car. I mean, you look at what he's been really ever since, gosh, you have to go all the way back to Darlington, the second Darlington race. He's been in the top 11 all but once. This is a perfect Brad Keselowski track that you look up with 5 to go and there's a pit strategy and he's winning. Like, where did he come from? Just like he did at Charlotte, just like he did at Bristol. He's just going to sneak in there. So I feel like that's what probably his best case of winning, is he could sneak in to get a win. He'll be a top 10 and have a strategy call at the end. So for those odds, that's a good risk for him for that. Do I think he's going to win an outright speed? No, Blaney's got the speed, but the strategy, Keselowski has the wins to gamble, and I think you'll see that.
All right. Elliott is 5th in the standings. He's 6-1 in the race. Hamlin 6-1 in the race, is 6th in the standings. Elliott, if you take out the All-Star race, 12th, 23rd, and 11th in his last 3. But in his last 3 at this racetrack, 2nd, 1st, and 4th. 4 top 5s and a win in his last 5 overall, including a runner-up last October. So you got to weigh that. Hamlin, meanwhile, won this race in October, leading 153 laps. His first win here since 2012. But in his last 3 races, Hamlin is just 20th, 12th, and 28th. Nobody went with Hamlin this week. You and CJ decided to take Chase Elliott as your second driver with the money, just like Ryan Blaney. I decided to stay away from Elliott, but Elliott, you guys favor over Hamlin.
Yeah, I feel like Elliott. This has always been a good track for him. Elliott's got fourth and second last year. Won the playoff race in 2018. Fourth in the playoff race before that. This is the week we're going to see what Hendrick Motorsports is made of. They've faltered a lot lately. They won 10 of the first 18 stages of the season. They're one of the last 18 recently.
Wow.
So the speed has gone away. Everybody talked about. I mean, that's all we talked about in May and in March when we were racing. Before that, how much speed Hendrick has, and Blaney and Hamlin, all these guys talked about how should be here to stay. Chase Elliott's a championship favorite. The Chevrolet's finally upgraded. Well, it's gone down. So you look at last week at Texas, 12th, 26th, 30th, and 37th were their finishes for the four of them. They have really fallen off. But Kansas is a good track for them, as we talked about Chase. Like Byron's finished fifth at that place last October. Jimmy Johnson's got 2 straight top 10s there. Alex Bowman's got 3 straight top 11s. So, yes, their finishes on the season aren't there, but Kansas has statistically been good. And if they're not good this weekend, then I think we've hit that panic button on Kyle Busch, you might want to hit that panic button on Hendrick, because if they don't show much, I'm worried about them.
All right, Truex 7th in the standings is 7-1. Almirola 8th is 14-1. I am the only one who went with Truex, and he's actually tied with Blaney as my top driver this week. I put 30 on Truex. Neither one of you guys went with Truex. CJ and I went with Almirola. Almirola is my second best pick behind Blaney and Truex. I put 25 on Almirola. He's got 7 straight top 10s on the year. He has 6 top 10s at this track, which is impressive for Almirola. He also dominated Kentucky early on until he faded. Truex was second at Kentucky, swept here in 2017, 6th or better here in 5 of his last 6. Again, I'm the only one going with Truex. You are not taking either driver.
Yeah, I just ran out of money because I went with Elliott and Blaney and Harvick. But I think you're going to see I want to see Almirola finish a race from when he started. I mean, you look at these last 2 weeks, yeah. It's almost painful because I've taken him these last few weeks. Even on covers, I had him. But he, for whatever reason, like Kentucky, just the car faded a little bit towards the end, got bad track position, never made it up. Texas, he had a bad pit stop or a blend line violation.
And then he makes it all the way back to like 4th, and you figure he's going to then do something, but then he just stalled.
Yeah, I want to see him because we know, gosh, the good luck that he's got of drawing starting spots. If that keeps up, he's going to be starting up front, and he's good there. So if that happens and he can put a full race together, Almirola is going to dominate one of these things and lead 90% of the race and win. He's got that capability. I just don't know why they can't finish. So this could be the race they finish, but I just didn't trust it yet. We'll see what happens. Truex, I think, is the safer play out of them because, as you said, he's starting the back at Kentucky, and him and Blaney were the only two, from my view in the press box, that could pass with ease that day. Now you're going to give a nighttime conditions more grip. That team seems to favor Truex a little bit. He said he found his momentum at Kentucky. Granted, last week was a fluke. He got wrecked. Wasn't his fault. So I think he can carry that into Kansas, and I would not be shocked if Truex ended up winning. And you could get him at a good number this week.
Yeah, 7-1. Not bad. Kurt Busch is 9th. Kyle Busch is 10th. Kurt Busch 22-1. Kyle Busch 6-1. But as you mentioned, Kyle just look. It looked like several times in the race, early and then late. Hey, here comes Kyle, and then it doesn't do anything. It's like, what's going on with this equipment? I mean, the old Kyle Busch would have won easily in taking advantage of what happened on Sunday, and just couldn't do it. There is something seriously wrong with Kyle Busch's car right now, his cars in general, which is why I don't know how you can take him, especially at 6-1, even though you would think it's a bargain number. Kurt Busch, meanwhile, you are the only one to take him, even though I understand exactly why you're doing it at 22-1. He has 7 top 10s in his last 10 here, 3 of those top 5s. One of those is a runner-up, and he was 5th at Kentucky.
Yeah, he seems to be running good on mile and a half. He was good in Vegas for a while. They got crashed. He got some crash damage. But he looks good on mile and a half. He's starting to find the speed again. And we know that him and Matt McCall can be aggressive. I think if they get to the point in the end where you got to make maybe staying out instead of pitting, he's the guy that would probably do that with Keselowski. And I know he would wreck Keselowski to get a win. So I think for those odds, for what you're getting him
Sure.
for, and for being this speed, he was a no-brainer. Kyle, I know crash damage affected him a little bit when he went through the grass at Texas, but yeah, I just don't trust him. He's led one lap in his last 4 Kansas starts. Yes, he's got some good finishes, but he's just not contending for wins there either. So I don't know why it would change all of a sudden this weekend. So Kyle would probably be a good fantasy play for a top 10, but I don't see a race win out of him this weekend, or not this weekend. This week, it's a weeknight race.
Bowman 11th, Di Benedetto 12th, Bowman 25-1. You mentioned he was runner-up last year in this race, leading 63 laps. Di Benedetto hasn't really done anything at this track, but he was second in Las Vegas and third in Kentucky, which is the reason why I put $4 on Di Benedetto at 50-1. I'm the only one to take Di Benedetto this week. Nobody took Bowman.
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought CJ might have taken one of those too. I went with more longer shots than those, but Di Benedetto, Ford's been speedy there. They've had a lot of speed. The Benedetto's shown some promise lately. The only thing with him that I worry about is they need stage points. They've made that clear. They're going all in on the stage points game. Do they get in a bad position for the final stage because they get stage points in the first 2? Because they want to keep capitalizing on the starting spot. Clint Boyer noted that yesterday actually, that he fell out of the top 12 in points, and he's trying to stage point his way back in there, hoping somebody, aka Matt Di Benedetto, who's 15 points ahead of Boyer, falls back out, because that is the difference of starting the top 12 or starting 13th to 24th. So I think that Benedetto goes for stage points. But Bowman, I'm just not sold on the speed yet. I know I talked Hendrick needing the finish and Chase Elliott, but Bowman's got one top 5 finish since we restarted from this pandemic, and that happened the first race that we restarted. So I just don't trust him yet. I trust the Benedetto over him, but we'll see what happens with Bowman.
Okay, now as far as some of the rest, you were the only one to take Boyer. You put a few bucks on Boyer at 50-1.
Yeah, Boyer, for whatever reason, it's his home track, and he's been running there recently. 5th and 8th last year. He looks like he's got speed on the season. He's just in bad starting spots. It's hard for him to get that clean air. So I think with it being a home track for him, you're going to see an even more aggressive Boyer. He wants to win bad. He mentioned that he doesn't have a contract still for 2021. They haven't even discussed it yet. So that's telling. I feel like he needs a win to maybe open that conversation, and what better way to do so than his home track. So for those odds, I thought, well, throw a couple bucks his way.
The only between Jimmy Johnson and Byron, CJ put a few bucks on Jimmy at 28-1, even though he doesn't have a top 10 in his last 6 races. William Byron does not have a top 5 on the year.
No, and he's this 90 race winless streak still for him too. He's 2 points out of the playoffs. He doesn't have Chad Knaus there this weekend. Chad Knaus, his wife, is expecting a baby, and they originally thought this was one of the 2 weekends off, but they added Kansas in the middle of the week, so he's going to miss it. So I don't know how much that's going to factor into for Byron. So I just don't trust him this week. He needs some top 10s just to keep rolling, because he's just struggling to even get those right now, or he's going to start fading further and further back. These are the battles at this point that we got to start watching for points, because I don't see I don't see these guys winning a race anytime soon.
Okay, now Reddick and Jones. Now, because I had to use a backup, I have 2 sports books I use. The top one, the odds were not available. My backup sports book had Reddick at 33-1. I would think that the number 1 sports book we use probably has Reddick maybe double that. I was surprised Reddick is 33-1, even though in his last 3 races he's 2nd, 10th, and 8th. So he's red hot. He was 9th in this race last year too, which is he's one of the only rookies. Well, he is the only rookie to race here last year, and he also has a 2nd, a 5th, and a 2nd in 3 Xfinity races at this track. So I'm still surprised he's 33-1. But you and I did put a few bucks on Reddick anyway at 33-1. You also put $10 on Eric Jones at 28-1 because he has shown some good results here in the Cup Series and has led a lot of laps in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, those 2 both did great in the Xfinity Series, and you add, like you said, they've been great at Kansas recently in the Cup car. Reddick enters red hot, like you said. I trust him. I feel like they're going to need a little bit of strategy to get some clean air, but they've done that this year. So I feel like he's going to be battling for the win in the end. I mean, it's 2020, right? We saw Cole Custer and Austin Dillon win. Why not Tyler Reddick?
Why not?
And then for Eric Jones, yeah, him like Boyer is racing for a contract next year. Eric Jones is out of the playoff bubble, guys. Fares the best. He's got 5 top 6 finishes this year, where Byron's got none, Johnson's got 2. Clint Boyer only has a couple, so his pace is better than where he's at. He's got 5 top 6 finishes this year, 3 in his last 6, but also 6 of his last 9 he's finished 20th or worse. So it's like, which Eric Jones you're going to get? If you get the good one, then Eric Jones can contend for a win. I mean, he's got 7th, 4th, 3rd, and 7th his last 4 Kansas finishes. So I trust that this weekend could have one of those two steal a win the way things are going. So why not throw some money their way?
Yeah, as we wrap it up, I think the thing that now, after we've seen 2 long shots win with no qualifying in practice, that is probably going to continue the rest of the season. We're going to probably have at least another couple of long shots before it's all said and done. I think you have to throw in about 3 or 4 long shots every week now in your picks, and just hope you get lucky that one of your long shots, like when I did Custer a couple of weeks ago, came through. Now, to close the long shots, I put a couple of bucks each on Bell at 80 to 1 and Buescher at 100 to 1. Buescher was 10th in this race last year. He's got 2 top 10s on this track. Bell, meanwhile, was 7th at Kentucky. He won the Xfinity race here in 2017. And then you took Stenhouse at 100 to 1. He was 3rd in Las Vegas. But I'm trying to find out, well, you tell me why, another reason why you went with Stenhouse, because he's not exactly pulling into good results lately.
No, but he had 3 straight 11th place finishes in the spring race, the nighttime race at Kansas. Vegas, he was strong. We'll see. The momentum's not on his side right now, but if he could stay on the lead lap and get a strategy call, we'll see what he can do. Brad Doherty was on a conference call with him a couple weeks ago, and he talked about their strength and mile-and-a-half program. It's looked that way. You remember the Charlotte night race, not the 600, but the other one. He was up there in the top 5. So it seems like they've got some speed in cooler nighttime tracks. So we'll see what he can do. And I went Buescher. I mean, yeah, Stenhouse drove that car last year that he finished 3 11th place finishes in. So that's a good pick as well. So we'll see if it pays off. Like you said, you have to go with some long shots because of how the season has gone. And you might hit on one of them if you get lucky, because there's not a lot of long shots that you can realistically probably think that's going to win out of these groups. So the ones that we've got, you can get a winner from there if they steal a victory.
That's all it is. It's just luck. And we've seen it already now twice in the last 3 or 4 races. Okay, so race review online. What are you going to be doing between now and, well, you got 1 race on Thursday, and then that's it. We don't have another race until when?
The following Sunday in New Hampshire. So we got a little bit of a break here. So, yeah, we'll have race coverage on Thursday. Got a lot of posts up already this last couple days. They have not added a press conference schedule yet for any drivers. If we'll have any just individual pieces on them, NASCAR is trying to gather some, but it's a short week, short race. So we might just have race coverage only on Thursday night.
All right. Thanks, Eric. We'll talk to you next week. We'll talk to CJ again next week as well. Don't forget to subscribe here on our YouTube page and follow us on Twitter. You could follow CJ and Eric on Twitter as well. You can take a look at their Twitter handles right there on the ticker. Eric, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.